grow. This time of year for cucumbers. Tomatoes will grow, but you need to watch your tomatoes. Don't expect a huge harvest. Tomatoes are big feeders. If I can tell you how to get a huge harvest, but if you're just jumping on yourself, you might be disappointed, okay? But what I would do to begin with is probably, if you've never grown tomatoes before, probably try with some of the bigger ones. But if you want to harvest, go with some of the small, like cherry or pear tomatoes. They're much easier. And then make it really rich with nutrient. If you can start making your own compost, make your own compost. Get good soil for that. And then with the tomatoes, here's another thing we have to learn. Do you know what determinate and indeterminate is? You do. Nod your head. Anybody else? No, you do. Okay. Determinate and indeterminate is this. Everyone hears about heirloom tomatoes. They like the heirloom tomatoes, the idea of them. Well, they're great, but the heirloom tomatoes are indeterminate. They're all heirloom tomatoes are indeterminate. And the determinate ones, that means you determine your harvest to a degree, okay? You still have to make sure it grows. But they're usually 3 to 4 feet, 2 to 4 feet tall, and they produce all their fruit about the same time. They ripen about the same time. And most of the time they're hybrids. They're good tomatoes, but if you have a smaller space, that's what you want to grow. And I say smaller space. These tomatoes are Cherokee Purple. They're a very well-known, high-quality heirloom tomato. But guess what? They grow up to 9 feet tall, okay? So you need to either have like a cage or a fence, or if you have a wall, you can take and put little screws and use jute or hemp and tie it off, and they'll just climb up, okay? You don't necessarily want them to go across the ground unless you want to have tomatoes there from now until Jesus comes back, because they'll start planting their own selves, and you'll find them over and over and over again, okay? But what you do with the tomato, and I'm going to show you, because everyone likes tomatoes, so I'm going to get into that. Okay, this one's already been picked back. Let me see. Okay, here we go. This tomato we see here, see a little leaf coming out here? A little one here? See this? See this? I'm going to be really brutal, and I'm going to take these off, okay? And you take this off, and you can cut them off. You can be real gentle. I always talk to my plants, so they understand that I love them. But see all these little bitty hairs? Or if you can't, when you come up a little bit, you can see the hairs. All those little hairs can turn into roots. If it has a strong root system, that means the plant's strong too, right? You never want to, now I'm going to tell you two things, and remember this really well, because it'll save you a lot of money if you don't do it the way I'm telling you. Tomatoes, you'll plant other plants. I will plant this deep, okay? But if you do that with a tree, it will die. Not might, it will die. 70% of all the trees around here that die are because people think they're going to give them love, and it's got taproot. Well, not everything has a taproot, but they'll dig a hole. They'll dig a hole deeper than they need to. They'll put 6 to 8 inches of really good soil and nutrients and fertilizer in there, and they'll plop the tree in it. But what happens is, it's like if any of you jog, it'd be like you and I jogging together, and me holding your neck while you jog, and it begins to choke it out. You want to have the shoulders of the tree out of the ground. And I know that's off, but I hate people wasting lots of money on trees if they don't do them right. And so you plant it on hard. You can plant it on cement. You can plant it on a solid rock, and it'll send the roots out, and you make the hole twice as big as the pot. So it's this way, it's twice as big. If it's this size pot, it's twice as big, wide. And then you want it to where the shoulder of the tree or crown is above the ground, and then it'll be just fine. If it needs to have taproot, it can go straight through rock if it has to, okay? But with these plants, specifically tomatoes, I take the lower leaves off, and I'll plant it this deep. This is where the soil will be. See how much deeper I'm going to plant it? Think about the root system that goes out. It's tremendous, okay? So we'll have a strong root system. What do roots do? They're means of pulling in moisture, pulling in nutrient, and helping to add stability to the plant. It gives it, and I say stability. You get this time of year, like yesterday, some of these got a little bit burnt. Why? Because I wasn't here and it got really hot and I came back. So, but you just pick the dead leaves off and away you go. And once I get these pots into the soil, then they'll begin to thrive because all these will become roots. And so those roots, to help to support, give moisture, more moisture, and also to help give more nutrients. Okay? The other thing, and I'm going just 101, and if this is not what you want, let me know, but I'm going to show you. The other thing is this. I'm planting the tomatoes. See all this? See all that? That's all roots. If this is right on the edge, this one's right on the edge. But if you, and I say right on the edge, if I plant it like this, see how heavy the roots are right here? If it was that way all the way around, and I just put it in the ground, you think, man, this is a healthy plant. It is. But the roots are being contained by the pot, and it'll get root bound. And then you're not going to have a very strong plant. So then you turn it over and you say, baby, you're going to produce some wonderful tomatoes. I love you. I thank you for what you're doing. I thank you're going to be all you're created to be. And you open up the roots. Okay? See how I tore that open? Then you plant it and it will thrive. Okay? So any plant you see, whether it's a landscape plant, whether it's an edible plant, we're talking about edibles today, but any plant you see if it's root bound. Okay? Some plants have a tendency to get more root bound than others, and that's a way of doing it. Now, if you have trees, like I have, and sorry, but I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm limiting my staff because otherwise I got to be out having them get a job every day. So I'm doing what I can out so I can teach more. And so my place doesn't look the way I normally would like it. But I have some trees back in here that are citrus trees, and one of the things I'm going to do in the next few weeks is take them out of the pots and up pot them because they're confined. The roots will start going in circles and they can't get much bigger. They're looking for more nutrient, more moisture, trying to get their system out. So you'll take those apart and you just cut the roots open and let them go play out where they go into the ground as well. Does that make sense?
What do you mean up pot? Just a bigger pot?
Yeah. If I have like a 10-gallon pot, I might go to a 15. If I have a 20-gallon, I might go to a 30, getting a bigger pot. If you have house plants, they will get pot bound, okay, which is root bound, and the roots start going like that where you see the heavy roots. You need to get them in a bigger pot. They're happier. And up pot, where if you have a pot this big, go 2 to 3 inches size bigger, wider. Doesn't have to be deeper, but wider, so that they can get their roots out more and work with that. On a tree, you'd cut them. Here, I can just tear them. But a tree is going to have a heavier root. You just open it up more. Okay? And you think, oh, that's going to kill the tree. No, it will not. But you just have to open it up. And I say roots. You'll see the hair ones going around, not the big heavy roots. You won't hurt if you cut those too. You just need to make sure they don't get any disease.